landed on the Dave Congleton Show, always your hometown radio talk show. You know that it is Monday, October 17th, 2022. We have been following this story about the county clerk recorder and allegations of mistakes made in the voter guide. And just this afternoon, the county sent out another press release. Give me about a minute and let me just read this before we bring in our guest. This came out this afternoon, and the subject of the press release is printing errors. The county clerk recorder has discovered 2 printing errors in the county voter information guide for voters within the city of Pismo Beach and Lucia Mar Unified School District Trustee Area Number 3. These voter information guides went out with ballots last week. The online version of the guides have been corrected. Corrected voter information guides will be mailed out to all registered voters in the affected districts. While the pages that make up the voter guide were proofed numerous times before being sent to print, there was a mistake in the assembly of the pages that attributed to the omission of the candidate statements of Pismo Beach City Council candidate Kevin Kurowski and Lucia Mar Unified School District Trustee Area Number 3 candidate Ashley Smeester. The County of San Luis Obispo has used the same printer and proofing process for years without incident. Nevertheless, additional proofing processes will be implemented during printing and before they are sent out to voters for all future elections. While some additional candidates have come forward claiming their statements were wrong or omitted, the clerk recorder's office has confirmed those candidates either declined to submit a candidate statement, parentheses, and signed the form confirming so, close parentheses, or submitted changes to their statements after the state-mandated deadline for changes. In addition, there was a typographical error in the ballot language for Measure C22 affecting San Luis Coastal School District. A percentage symbol was used instead of a cents symbol. Online versions have been corrected, and voters will receive corrective action mailers this week. It is of the utmost importance to the clerk recorder's office and the staff who work in it that the integrity of fair and accurate elections be held in this county. These mistakes should not have happened, were accidental in the printing process, and we are taking all measures to rectify them. We welcome you as members of the media to ask any questions you might have. Always good to be in conversation with Attorney Stu Jenkins. And as I have been requested by a county official who shall remain anonymous, I start by welcoming Stu back to the program and reminding our listeners that Stu ran for county clerk recorder against the incumbent and did not prevail. But he's not here with an axe to grind. He's here at my invitation.
That's right.
Stu, good evening.
I'm here to talk about law.
Yeah, nice to see you.
And elections. Nice to see you. Nice to see you.
You just heard the press. You just heard the press release. Any reaction?
Whitewash. That's my reaction. It's
Tribune article today.
Tribune article today was an echo of what that particular press release was. The only addition is that there's some new statements about other candidates who have contacted the officials to find out why their statements weren't run.
So why is it a whitewash?
Well, because those are, it's a mandatory duty to put out an accurate ballot for people, and it's a mandatory duty by the 29th day before the election to provide a ballot statement or ballot pamphlet with the statements of all the candidates as they were submitted. The clerk recorder or a clerk of a city does not have any discretion to make changes in those statements because otherwise they're essentially editing and controlling what the candidates say. And as a result, now we're well past 29 days into the election cycle. There are people who have already voted their ballots, and if sending out late corrective statements is actually not going to be able to cure that. Let's take the example of C22.
The school measure, which is probably, in my mind, the most serious.
It's very serious. Well, it's not the most serious. I mean, Kevin Kriowski lost by 2 votes last time he ran for city office in Pismo.
Wow.
And leaving out his ballot statement practically guarantees he's not going to have a fair shot at winning a council seat this time. And I would predict that if any candidate in that race or any elector in Pismo were to bring an action, there's probably going to be a duty to rerun that election.
Might you be bringing a lawsuit against anybody?
I think that's premature to say.
Okay. That's not a no.
It's not a no.
Okay.
Well,
but anyway, I'm sorry, I sidetracked you. You wanted to go back to C-22.
Well, C-22. I mean, these are concepts that go all the way back to the beginning of California on how to run fair elections. I mean, from 1921, you've got Supreme Court case that says that deviations from the mandatory duties may be overlooked as long as they're not going to mislead voters. But the ballot here, let's just take the difference between the math on the ballot statement and the ballot itself for C-22, this bond measure that's going to be generating
San Luis Coastal
$17 million a year is what's estimated. If you read the ballot and you had let's say you had a house in Los Osos. Remember, this district covers from Los Osos into San Luis Obispo, through Avila. I think there's even a little piece of northern Pismo that's still in that district. You have a $400,000 assessed house. Now, maybe at this point it's worth $800,000. If you read the math on the ballot, you're going to be assessed $19,600 new assessment for your annual property taxes. If you read the ballot pamphlet, you're going to be assessed $196. Now, a lot of folks might be willing to pay $196 for new facilities at schools, but I think there's far fewer who are going to feel like they want to pay $19,600 in a $400,000 assessed home.
So, given that there is a mistake on the bond measure, is that legal? Or does that invalidate this election?
My opinion is that it will invalidate this election. And the part of that is there's actually some cases on this that basically say that such a bond measure can't pass. But think about the other aspect. Let's suppose it did pass. Is the assessment going to be what was on the ballot, which is actually where the voting's going? The votes are cast on the ballot. And for that $400,000 assessed home, if you just take what's on the ballot, suddenly there's this huge assessment that is due. And basically all of the statutes and the rules in election law are to prevent misleading of voters. And so I think that my opinion is that's going to have to be rerun as an election.
I have been told that Rita Neal, County Council, is working on a way to protect the measure.
I'm sure there are people working on manipulations.
Meaning?
Manipulations. In other words, we're going to, if the sky's pink, we're going to call it blue. In order to try to protect the measure. It would actually be less expensive to rerun the election than to deal with court actions to try to defend what is the indefensible.
All right, we got a lot to unpack here. We will welcome your phone calls after news at the bottom of the hour. Let's hear from the attorney, shall we? Stu Jenkins is in studio with us.